I'm going in search of witches.
Witches.
Witches. I guess you found me out, huh? Yeah. You should come around here on Halloween. You'd really see something then.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, we all jump off the roof and fly.
You know, sort of like a coven. We were placed Fester under some strange sexual spell.
At what time will we be spellcasting?
Hey, and welcome to Moonstone Witchery, the podcast where we discuss witchcraft in a modern context. My name is Rian Lockhart. I'm the head witch over here at Moonstone Witchery. I have been on a little bit of a hiatus. The holidays have been a little crazy, but I am back and I am more excited than ever to be connecting with everybody listening and to be diving fully back into all things witchy, witchwork, and spiritual. So let's get started and chat a little bit about some cool stuff. And I'm recording this in the new year. Happy New Year. So if anybody is listening and has just celebrated the new year, Happy New Year to you. I wanted to talk to you guys about a few cool things. I've talked in a previous episode about what magic theory is and why spells work and what they're really doing. And I guess I kind of wanted to expand upon that topic a little bit, and I wanted to chat about crystals and energy, because I think that having a fundamental understanding of crystals and energy and magic theory and what's kind of happening behind the scenes of spell work and witch work and all this kind of spiritual stuff is important. I believe that it's important to understand why we're doing a thing, unless we don't need to understand why we're doing a thing. And so what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean is that I have come to realize, and I've been taught by my guides and my spiritual teachers throughout my life, that all of the world, all of everything is a paradox. All of everything is duality. All of everything is the yin and the yang, the black and the white, the polarity of everything. And of course, therefore, it's the gray zone in between, right? But understanding why you do something is important because it allows you to harness into and to really intentionally hone your craft, knowing like the quote rules of the energy of the universe, knowing the rules of magic theory, knowing the rules of why things work the way they do allows you to use those rules to cultivate the results that you want. Okay. So understanding why you're doing something is important. However, sometimes we do a thing just because our intuition tells us to do a thing, and we have literally no idea why we're doing it. Is anyone familiar with this? I'm sure that you are. And that is just as valid as doing something with intentionality and purpose. So as a witch, it's important to understand the duality of that, right? It's important to understand, oh, I'm going to do this thing because I know that this herb means this, or I'm going to use this crystal because I know that it's going to enhance that, or oh, I'm going to, do this chant, speak this chant because I know that the energy of this chant brings this to the spell that I'm performing. And then it's like, and I'm going to throw this into this thing because I don't know why, but I'm feeling called to do it, right? Both can happen. Both are valid. Both, in my opinion, should happen. It's both. It's always both. And that's one of the trickiest parts of spirituality and understanding kind of the nature of the universe. It's understanding the duality and it's allowing the duality. Allowing is so significant because sometimes we tell ourselves that we have to have it be one or the other, or it's supposed to be a certain way. Those kinds of words will mess you up every time. Saying it's supposed to be like this is really setting yourself up to be dramatically disappointed when whatever it is doesn't turn out that way. There's a lot to be said for learning how to accept actual reality rather than the supposed to reality that we have in our mind. Actual reality often looks dramatically different than the supposed to reality that was, let's be real, often given to us by someone else who doesn't even really fully know us that well. If you're sitting here listening to this and you identify as a witch, or you are interested in witchcraft, or you're interested in spirituality, you're going to understand the supposed to versus the actual reality, right? Because unless you come from a lineage of witches, in which case that's awesome. Hit me up and let's talk. Unless you come from a lineage of witches, you have probably been given a supposed to about spirituality or religion, or what the world's supposed to look like, right? You've been probably taught a certain kind of thing, such as, this is what God is, this is who God is, this is the story of what we believe, this is how people are supposed to behave, this is the life you're supposed to live. In the Four Agreements, Don Miguel Ruiz discusses this concept, and he calls it the domestication. And what he says is that we are all sort of domesticated, right, into believing a certain story about the way of the world. This is here again, this is duality. This domestication, this supposed to reality, is not necessarily a bad thing. As a parent, your job is to give your children some kind of version of reality. And it's the reality that says, okay, well, in this house, this is how reality works. These are the rules. This is how you function as a person. Welcome, join us. And then when you're 18 or whatever age you are that you go ahead and move out, you can go ahead and make up your own rules, your own reality, basically is what the parenting is doing. That's what parenting is designed to do. It's saying, here's this bubble that you live in. Here are the rules for this bubble. If or when you don't like it, you can go ahead and create your own bubble for yourself at some point in the future. We're hand-fed this reality, this domesticated version of the world through our culture. It's impossible to escape it. It's not all bad, okay? We are given certain things. Some of them, though, some of the things we're given are outdated and they're not okay. And they are based in, a lot of isms, right? Like sexism, racism, homophobia, xenophobia. There's a whole lot of these supposed to's that come out of just faulty ways of thinking that no longer match the way that we exist in the world today. And a lot of them come from religion. And that's how this pertains back to this podcast. Although quite honestly, like all of this pertains to all of life. I am a gay woman. And so for me, I've had to face the supposed to's versus the actual reality of life many, many times. And I've had to say, oh, turns out that what I was supposed to be doesn't actually match what's actually happening. And that happened to me with witchcraft too, and my spiritual beliefs. For background for you guys, I am a certified life coach, but I'm also an ordained interfaith minister, and I am a practicing psychic intuitive medium. So I have been spending the better part of like 15 years, but really my whole life, submerged in religion, spirituality, understanding the nature of the energy world, understanding what's happening like behind the scenes of this place we call reality, this place we call existence. And so that's why I feel qualified to discuss with you magic theory and what's going on and why your spells work and what you're doing when you're doing spells. And also that's why I feel really excited to empower you to know that you can go ahead and just trust your intuition, and you can go ahead and just do a thing because you feel like, oh, I'm really supposed to do this right now and I don't really know why. I want you to always trust that feeling, because intuition is the antenna that we carry around inside of our bodies. It's our little lifeline back to spirit, or back to the unseen realm, back to source, whatever words you feel comfortable with, back to God. Again, whatever word you feel comfortable with, that's what your intuition is. Your intuition is sometimes or usually going to go against the supposed to's. Have you ever felt like, oh, I don't want to go to this thing, but I already said I was going to go, so I guess I kind of have to go, but I really don't want to go, right? If you're getting that nagging, intuitive, oh my God, you should probably listen to that if you can. Even though you maybe are supposed to do something else, because our intuition is the way that like our spirit guides or whatever you feel comfortable with. For me, it's spirit guides kind of like tug on the string of our awareness, and they say to us, hey, pay attention to me. Like, I want you to do this thing this way, or I want you to not do this thing this way, or I want you to just trust me and go with it. So if there's one thing I can empower anybody who comes to me asking for how to connect deeper to their truest self or their spiritual self, it's to say, well, listen to your intuition, or how often do you follow your intuition? And it's a practice just like anything else. But especially with spell work and with witch work, it's a really good idea to get in the habit of trusting your intuition, because when you open up a circle or you sit down and you decide you're going to do a spell of some kind or another, it's like you activate this beacon of light that can't be seen to the human eye, but can be seen by the spiritual realm. And when you're activating this beacon of light, all these like energies and entities of the highest light and of like the divine realm who are into what your spell work is about, well, they start like noticing, right? They're like, oh, what's happening over there? That seems interesting to me. And they start showing up in your space. Side note, this is why it's important for you to create, circles that have reinforced boundaries. And if you do not like the idea of just sort of attracting whatever energy is into your spell work to you, you want to get in the habit of really setting the boundaries for who or what energetic beings you're willing to communicate with or allow into your space as you do spell work. Because if you don't set the boundaries, what you're doing is you're kind of saying, hey, come one, come all, hear ye, spell in progress, like who wants to come witness? And that's fine. I mean, I personally am okay with that, but I also have gotten to a point within myself, within my own practice of witchcraft, where I'm okay with that. Back in the beginning of my practice, I would be very, very specific about what I was doing, who was allowed to interact with me, what energies or entities or deities, if any, I was calling in to support the spell, and what they were allowed to do. I was nervous. And so whenever you bring nervous energy or fear energy into something, it's okay. I don't want you to shame yourself or make yourself wrong for negative feelings. I am so not all about like toxic positivity. And that's probably a different conversation for a different time. But what I'm saying is, like, it's okay to be afraid and to still do something. Like, that's okay. None of us would ever grow or evolve or change or be our truest selves if we weren't afraid and doing it anyway. But I want you to know and acknowledge and be honest with yourself about whatever your fear is, so that you are able to say, okay, how can I take my fear with me, still do this thing, but make it safer for myself? And the way you do that is reinforcing your boundaries. You set the stage for who can and can't communicate with you. You say to yourself, what energy am I comfortable having present during this spell? And then you just say so. There's so much power in saying so. There's so much power in the spoken word. I am not a Christian, but it is significant that in the Bible, one of the very first things that is said is, God spoke and said, let there be light, and there was. God used the word, the spoken word, right? I'm not someone who believes the Bible is 100% like an accurate rendition of the happenings of, history or science. But what I'm saying is there's something mystical there that's being told to us really clearly. And that mystical thing that's being told to us is the spoken word is incredibly powerful. God said, like, let there be existence, and there was, right? So that's interesting. The spoken word does so much. And this gets us into the magic theory portion of events, because what's happening when we speak something is we are taking an intangible concept, something that had moments before only existed in our mind or in the realm of like ideas or in the realm of possibilities, the intangible realm of thought, of creation, of before, right? There's this whole world that you have, which interestingly enough is the whole world that we exist in the majority of our lives. And the whole world that you have inside of you is intangible. It's not actually real. You can't travel to visit one of your thoughts. You can't hold one of your thoughts in your hand. You can't like take it and show someone your thought. What you can do is turn it into something tangible. And the way that you do that is through speaking or creating in some way the things that are in your mind or that are in your heart or that are your feelings, the intangible things that exist within you, and you turn them into something tangible. And that is the essence of magic. And so to expand on that or explain it further, what I'm offering as a premise is there are two worlds, just like all things are duality. There are two worlds and two realms happening always simultaneously. One is the spiritual realm and one is the world we call reality. And I always say it like that because to me, because I grew up, as a psychic intuitive, seeing things that weren't really there and communicating with things that apparently weren't really there. That world's always been more real to me, the spiritual world. I remember vividly knowing when I was a small child what it feels like on the other side. And I remember vividly knowing I wanted to go back there instead and that it was like warm and nice and happy. But also vividly knowing that there was a purpose for being here and that it was cool. I could wait it out and should, and let's do this thing and see what's going on here. And so the two realms are the spiritual realm, the intangible, unseen world that exists within you and manifests itself as your thoughts and feelings and remembrances and your inner experiences. And then there is the tangible world, which is all around us, which manifests itself as your body and your car and your home and the trees and the earth and all of that beautiful, good stuff that is happening. And when you are creating something, what you're doing is you are taking it from the intangible, the source, the spirit realm, the realm of infinite possibilities. And I say it like that because really, truly, anything is possible. You can think about anything. You can imagine anything. Plato said something about like, if you can think about it, it must be possible for it to exist. And you can then do your best to create it. Now, I say do your best because words and our hands and, all of the tools we have to create things are flawed because they exist in tangible reality and nothing's perfect here. But we can do our best to create it. And so when we speak something, we're literally creating it with our words. Because words exist in the tangible reality. Words are sound waves. And sound waves shape reality. We've been gifted as human beings this beautiful gift of language, and words mean things, and we've collectively agreed upon what words mean what, and so we've collectively contributed energy to certain words. But words have a lot of power. God said, let there be light, right? And words have a lot of power because they're shaping this reality. This reality is like in flux at all times. It's constantly being shaped. It's constantly being transformed. Schrodinger's cat will tell you that. Like it's constantly changing, and it's changing because we're all kind of contributing, whether we're aware of it or not, to what it looks like and what we're all kind of collectively buying into and what we're all seeing. And this is why witchcraft is powerful, because the witch knows this. And that is why I'm telling you this special magic theory secret, because the witch knows that we are all sort of just molding this world out of modeling clay and shaping it into whatever we want it to be. And we're drawing it and we're adding shading and we're singing it into existence. And so when we know that, we have a lot of power and we can go ahead and shape it how we want. Now, what happens is when we contribute energy to a word and that energy is sort of undermining our belief, or that energy is sort of unstable or full of self-doubt or fear or whatever, that energy gets contributed to the words that we're saying. So we have to proceed with that knowledge, right? We have to proceed careful to not, add all that energy to whatever we're saying, or to acknowledge it. And that's where I come back to what I was talking about, where if you're going to do a spell and you're fearful of the energies around you that might want to come watch your spell or participate in it, you get to set the rules. You get to say, I'm only inviting in my own spirit guides, my own guardian angels and God, or whatever words work for you. Or I'm inviting in, I'm sending an offering up to my favorite goddess and I'm inviting her presence to be here, and I'm asking her support, if she so chooses, to help me in bringing this work to fruition. Thank you. Whatever it might be, you set the rules. And when you set the rules of a spell, those rules are stable. Those rules are final. Those rules are in place. And I want you to know that. And I need you to know that, because the amount of self-doubt that you bring to your own energy field will shake the foundation of your ability to complete the work that you're wanting to complete. So the most important thing, fundamentally, honestly, that you can really do is to ground yourself in your confidence. That is the most important part of witchcraft. And it seems so boring, I think, to people, because people are like, well, what's the most important thing I should know about being a witch? And I'm like, be very confident, like, believe yourself. And everyone's like, how am I supposed to do that? Number one. But number two, why does that matter? Well, it matters because if you don't believe yourself, your spells aren't going to believe themselves either. So that's like real easy and clear. Like, that right there just sums that up. Like, if your spell has a lot of like, oh, I don't know, maybe energy in it, then it's gonna manifest with a whole lot of, oh, I don't know, maybe energy. But if your spell is like, this is gonna happen, it's already done, thanks so much, see you later, bye. It's like, oh, okay, gotcha. That's gonna happen. It's already done. You're welcome, I think. And that's how we shape reality. I want you to walk around confident. I want you to walk around like, I know I'm this like amazing queen, diva, ruler of the universe. But I want you to be respectful about it. But honestly, like, put on some kind of song that gets you into that space of feeling confident. Listen to some Lizzo, or, even the song Confident by Demi Lovato is good for this. Todrick Hall's Hair, Nails, Hips, Heels is one of my favorites for getting into that vibe. But not everybody is going to feel the same way as me about those specific songs, but find a thing. What I'm saying is, find your thing, find something that gets you into your confidence and helps you know, oh, okay, I'm the witch, I'm in charge, because what I say goes, because I understand that I'm shaping this reality around me. You're only shaping your own reality bubble. But if someone comes to you and says, hey, can you do this spell for me? What you say is, all right, do you you don't have to say it this way, but you find your own way of saying this. But you say, all right, do you accept that whatever I do to your reality becomes your reality? And they're like, yes, that's why I'm asking you to do this spell for me. And you're like, okay, I'm going to alter your own reality. Do you buy into that? And they're saying yes. Now, again, you can't really say this to them, but what you can do is you can set it up on the energetic realm with your guides or with the forces that be, that says, if someone comes to me for a spell, what they're doing is they're acknowledging that I'm capable of altering their reality in the way that they're asking me to alter it. Now, your job is to be ethical about this and to only alter it in the way in which they're asking you to alter it, because otherwise that will mess up your own energy field. And we'll talk more about that at some other point. I am not a follower of the Read of Three, but I am huge in the whole belief that, like, your energy is being monitored by the forces that be. And if you are doing things that are shady, it is absolutely gonna affect you and your ability to get your work done and your ability to live a harmonious life. But again, that's a whole conversation for a whole different day. But at the moment, what I just want you to understand is, like, standing in your confidence, standing in your power, understanding the duality of witch work, understanding the duality of energy, understanding that we are all spiritual and tangible, and yet we're neither, right? Because how can we be both? Either I'm spiritual or I'm tangible, or I'm this beautiful blend of both. And all of that is true. It's like, I am spirit because that's where I exist. All of my thoughts are intangible and of the intangible spiritual realm, right? All of my feelings are intangible and of the intangible realm. And yet I only have this perception of self at all, like a name and a body and an identity whatsoever, because I exist in this physical reality. But I only exist in this physical reality as this intangible spiritual creature. So like, which is more real? And the real answer is like, neither is more real, or both are just as real, or, you know, some blend thereof. So that's the paradox. That's the duality again. And what we're doing as witches is we're acknowledging that. And instead of like puzzling over it or getting all like messed up about it or really thinking in our minds like, oh my God, what's going on? Which is it? Whatever. What we're doing is we're going, oh, okay, cool. This is fun. I'm going to put in like the command codes for how to like alter my reality. And I'm going to do that in my spell work. And so whenever you create a spell, you're putting all your energy into it, which is why I want you to always sit with your spells and like infuse them with energy. Put your hands on your candles, put your hands on your jars, put your hands on all of your, components, your spell components, and infuse that stuff with energy. And then I want you to like allow it to manifest and become intangible through burning or whatever method that you use for casting a spell. And what you're doing is you're dismantling the tangible reality and allowing it to turn back into energy, where it goes to the energy realm and it says, hey, energy realm, like this is what's going to happen next. And this is how we're going to shape reality. That's what we're doing when we're spellcasting. And what we really need to do is cultivate a sense of quiet confidence or loud confidence, hell, a sense of confidence in knowing that we're capable of doing that. That's the biggest boundary. That's the biggest barrier for most people. It's undoing the conditioning you've had. It's undoing the domestication or the shoulds, the supposed tos that you've been, you know, spoon fed throughout your life that says you're not that powerful. Somebody else could be that powerful, but not you, or that's not how it works, or whatever conditioning you've been given. I don't even like saying those things out loud. It feels yucky. So whatever the conditioning that you've had that has told you no, it's a matter of undoing it so that you can stand in your confidence and be like, oh, but actually, yes, because we're all empowered to do that. We are all already doing it. That's the funny part. We all are walking around thinking to ourselves, I wish if only I was this powerful creature, or I was this spiritual being who could connect at any time or could hear my guides. I have so many people come up to me and say, I wish I could hear my guides or my angels the way that you can. And I'm like, oh, you can. You already are. You just don't know that that's what's happening. And it's the same thing with witch work. It's like, I wish I was so powerful that I could cast these spells and have things happen. And I'm like, you can. You already are. Your spells that you're casting with your words that you speak every day are just spells often against yourself, or often that are maintaining a reality that you're choosing, but you don't necessarily actually want. So that's why I always say that witchcraft is self-work. Fundamentally, witchcraft has to be about self-work. At least the beginning foundational portion of witchcraft is about self-work, because what will happen is we'll want to do something, but we feel unworthy or unable or incapable of doing it. And then we have to dive in, dig through, and figure out why we feel that way about it. Like, what's happening within me that makes me think I can't do this or I shouldn't have it? And how do I heal that and release it so that I can get this thing done? That's what the root of it is. That's what will level you up in your witch work, is doing the self-work required to understand that you are capable and powerful and able to do anything you want and create any reality that you want, and to shape the world however you see fit. And I want you to get right with yourself and do it with positive energy. And just, you know, if I was in charge, I would have you do it with like pure love as the reason behind all things that you do. But that's for each of you to figure out within yourselves. But ultimately, when you are trying to cast a spell, or when you are casting a spell and you run into a barrier, or you hear that nagging or feel that nagging sensation within you, that's just kind of like, oh, I don't know, can I though? That's the place that I really want you to sit with your journal and try to say to yourself, what story am I believing about myself that might not actually be true? What's the should or the supposed to that doesn't match with the actual reality of myself. And if you can just shine the light of awareness on those areas for yourself, then you are golden, because awareness is the key to change. Awareness is the first step towards changing anything. And once you have awareness, you can be empowered to do something different next time. So I hope that this was a supportive episode for you. I hope that it explains a lot of the energy behind the spell work and the energy of why things happen how they do, and what we're doing when we create a spell, and how we have to get right with ourselves in order to create a spell. I also hope you feel empowered to set the boundaries around your spell work in a certain way. You're allowed to say whatever you want. Your rules are your rules, and they stand. Everyone on the other side listens to your rules because they're trying to interact with you here in tangible reality. And so they have to abide by the rules that are set by the person that they're interacting with. If you have questions for me, you can always email me. I'm at headwitch@moonstonewitchery.com. And I have a beautiful website at www.moonstonewitchery.com. I'm doing intuitive crystal pulls where I'm pulling crystals for people intuitively. I'm channeling from my guides what crystals needed and sending them directly to your house. Isn't it fun getting things in the mail? So those are only $10 if you're interested in that. There's a whole bunch of cool stuff happening on my website. And of course, find me please over on Instagram at moonstone_witchery. I answer my DMs usually once a week. I get a chance to sit down and go through my DMs and answer them. And I love hearing from you guys. So please do hit me up. And if you have any questions about anything you hear on the podcast, or ideas for future podcasts or anything like that, I love that. So please feel free to let me know. And I will be in touch with all of you in response to whatever you say to me. So I hope that you all start this year off well. Do yourselves a ritual or a spell to call in whatever you're wanting for this new year, new month, new day, new hour, new minute, new second. You can do a ritual or a spell at any moment just by speaking it and feeling it and calling it forth. And that is one thing I want to empower you with the knowledge of as well. So blessings to you. I hope to hear from you soon, and I will be back next week.